That sounds okay. But here, look out for us, okay? To them.
So, Nancy, I don't know where you are. If I can ask you to read that poem, thank you.
So I'm honored to read this poem. It was chosen by Lynn and Gabrielle. It's called The Embrace by Mark Doty. You weren't well or really ill yet either, just a little tired. Your handsomeness tinged by grief or anticipation, which brought to your face a thoughtful, deepening grace. I didn't for a moment doubt that you were dead. I knew that to be true still, even in the dream. You'd been out, at work maybe, having a good day, almost energetic. We seemed to be moving from some old house where we'd lived, boxes everywhere, things in disarray. That was the story of my dream. But even asleep, I was shocked out of the narrative by your face. The physical fact of your face inches from mine, smooth-shaven, loving, alert. Why so difficult remembering the actual look of you? Without a photograph and without strain. So when I saw your unguarded, reliable face, your unmistakable gaze opening all the warmth and clarity of warm brown tea, we held each other for the time the dream allowed. Bless you. You came back so I could see you once more, plainly, so I could rest against you without thinking this happiness lessened anything, without thinking you were alive again.
Be still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know that I am there. Be still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know. When darkness comes upon you and covers you in fear and shame, be still and know that I'm with you, and I will say your name. If terror falls upon your bed and sleep no longer comes, remember all the words I said. Be still and know. When you go through the valley and shadow comes down from the hill, if morning never comes to be, be still, be still, be still. If you forget the way to go and lose where you come from, if no one's standing beside you, be still and know I am. If you forget the way to go and lose where you come from, if no one's standing beside you, be still and know I am. still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know I am.
All right, I'm going to play a couple songs now. It's going to take me a couple seconds to set up, so feel free to grab another drink while you wait. So this is a song by Lefty Frizzell that I first played for my parents probably 7 or 8 years ago when they came to visit me in Montreal. And then during the pandemic, I recorded a version on my phone and sent that to Mom. And so whenever she'd visit Dad in the residence, she would play it for him. And it, gave them something to do. And then also, Dad was always a big fan of my music. So I'll dedicate this to my parents. All right. A bit rusty, but here goes. Me. I'd walk for miles, cry or smile for my mama and daddy. I want them to know how I feel. My love is real for my mama and daddy. I want them to know I love them so. In my heart, joy to start, 'cause I'm happy. And I pray every day for Ma and Pappy. And each night I walk for miles, cry or smile for my mama and daddy. I want them to know I love them so. I'd fight in wars, do all my chores for my mama and daddy. I want them to live on till they're cold. I'd work and slave and never rave to my mama and daddy, 'cause I know I owe them my all. In my heart, joy to start, 'cause I'm happy. And I pray every day for Ma and Pappy. And each night I'd walk for miles, cry or smile for my mama and daddy. I want them to know I love them so. I love them so. Thanks. So I could use some help on this next one. I'm pretty sure you all know it. So Dad was a prairie boy at heart, and kind of like the big open prairie sky, couldn't really be contained. And anybody who really knew him knew that he basically did whatever the fuck he wanted. He was his own man, and I think that's what made it difficult for him at the end. Losing his freedom and his mobility was the toughest part for him, because he couldn't do that anymore. And so this song's kind of about what's called helpless. I think you all know it. And we kind of enter this world helpless, and we leave the same way. And the song's kind of, if you want to sing backup, actually, that would be good. Okay. So we're going to play it in B. Is that okay? So you can sing along in the chorus, but let me sing the verses. There is a town in North Ontario. Dream, comfort, memories spare. In my mind, still need a place to go. All my changes were there. Blue, blue windows behind the stars. Yellow moon on the rise. Big birds flying across the sky. Throwing shadows on our eyes. Leave us helpless, helpless, helpless. Helpless, helpless, helpless. Chains are locked across my door. Baby, sing with me somehow. Blue, blue windows behind the stars. Yellow moon on the rise. Big birds flying across the sky. Throwing shadows on our eyes. Leave us helpless, helpless, helpless. 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 That's the last time. So just one more. This was maybe my dad's favorite song. So whenever me and Mom would go visit him at the residence, basically all we did was play YouTube songs back to back on Mom's iPad. And he would mostly just quietly listen. But for this song, whenever the chorus would come around, he would kind of sing the last line of the chorus every time. So we'd be going, listen to the song, and then you'd hear, on the bayou. Yeah, so the song is called Jambalaya. I want to invite Mom to join me on this one. Okay, we ready?
You ready?
She's not singing. She can. I mean, that's.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, yeah, let's see. Goodbye, Joe. Me gotta go. Me oh my oh. Me gotta pull the P-road down the bayou. My Yvonne, sweetest one. Me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama share a meal. Pick guitar, fill fruit jar, and bagel. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. T-Bodo, Fontenot, the place is buzzing. Kinfolk come to see Yvonne by the dozen. Dress in style, go hog wild, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama share a meal. Big guitar, fill fruit jar, and bagel. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. One more time. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama share a meal. Pick guitar, fill fruit jar, and a gale. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Thank you, thank you. That was Mom on Dyson. Yeah, so that's it for us. At this stage, we'd like to invite anybody who wants to play a song or read a poem or speak in honor of Dan. So don't be shy. The floor is yours.
This is for me, but Lynn and Dan happened to live in Vancouver and offered, when we first were coming over for meetings and things, well, why don't we just ride with them? Because Bruce and I were new, and we felt like we didn't really, like we were 25 or something in, so they became our entryway to drive over to Bowen for meetings. We walked in the woods down here with them first, and Kat and Cam. And one time they were dashing to their car late on a Saturday afternoon, and they said, come swimming with us, and we had never gone swimming at Tunstall. So I feel like Dan and Lynn introduced us to the woods and the water. And Lynn still, I think, finds it a magical place. Bruce, unfortunately, is teaching today his course. It's his last day of the course that he teaches in the spring. So he wrote something, and I will have no ability to get through this without tears, and he so wishes he could have been here. It's titled Walks with Dan. Lynn asked me to walk with Dan on Sundays, as though I was doing her a favor. It turned out she was giving me a gift. Dan invited us to walk in Bowen's forests. I got to hear about Dan's early adventures in Scotland 5 times. His pride of Gabrielle and his adventures with Lynn. Our weekly walk with Dan soon included Roger and George. We hiked up Duncan's Hat through gorges and down steep inclines, hikes that brought back boyhood adventures and gave us time to share life's stories. Dan no longer walks with us, but I imagine him walking just ahead of us, looking back with his big grin and inviting us on to new adventures. Thank you, Dan and Lynn, for being a part of Belterra and inviting us in. And thank you, Dan, for your bright spirit.
So I was like number 9 on the priority list. Right behind me were Lynn and Dan. And in the beginning, I thought they were kind of an odd couple. I think that now too. And Dan, but you know how in your life you've had friends and they fit in different categories, like your best friend or somebody makes you laugh, or there's a category of character. And in my life, and in these last 10 years or so, 11, I always remember Dan as being a character and an odd duck and a wonderful man and funny and a little bit dangerous. And oh, my legs are shaking. I loved Dan and I'll never forget him. He was unique. And whenever I get a cup of espresso, I will remember Dan. And whenever I try to make a cup of espresso myself, I remember Dan saying, "Get your hands off of that." And so sometimes when I'm in a long drive, I try to sing Danny Boy. I'm not going to sing it now. I can't. But I will always picture him now when I'm trying to do that. No. Anyway, thank you, Lynn, for marrying him and dragging him out of the prairie and letting me stay in your house with him. Oh yeah, he would make breakfast when I would come to visit on the way here. And he would always make this really wonderful thing with seeds and, I don't know, sticks and stuff like that. And anyway, it was fun.
So what I remember about Dan, it's really Dan and Lynn, because you can't think of one without the other, is the way they danced. I remember telling Syria, I said, you should see these people dance, and especially Dan. He had this thing. I can't do it, but he would slide, you know? And he would go on and on and on. He was like a fantastic dancer. Tall, slim, but he could really move. So he was a good dancer, and he loved the woods, and he loved the forest, and he loved nature, and he was a big part of Belterra, especially at the beginning, before Suri and I came. You were number 9? 10? We were 21. 21? Something like that. Anyway. So we're just remembering Dan and know that he's watching us from the space and sending us love, and he's so happy that Lynn and Gabrielle are here together with all of us. So just remembering Dan and sending love.
So I came to Belterra in what was a somewhat troubled period of my life, and Dan and Lynn had a profound impact on me before I even arrived. I was reading through the biography statements of people who were already part of the community, and in theirs they were talking about how they saw this as a period of life when they were going to play. And I just thought, that is the most wonderful thing, and it changed my mindset completely about what happens at this age. And I'm so happy that I got to play with you, and the dancing was tremendous, and the swimming was tremendous. And I said to Lynn earlier today, when I woke up, I had a very, very strong image of Dan the last time I went swimming with them down at Tunstall. And it was kind of one of those evenings where you didn't really see the sunset, where there was just this calm, dark gray water and calm sky. And there was Dan, and he was so strong. And he just entered the water and took off with this very strong stroke. And so that's how I see him. I see Dan swimming strongly and confidently and without fear. Yeah.
I was going to stand back over here. we'll get to the business part of this meeting. This was early in January 2011. Dear info at Belterra, I am interested in learning more about your co-housing model and to know about your application process. I didn't do it.
This is no comment on your oratory.
Thank you, Lynn Brindamore. That was the very first contact that we had with Dan and Lynn. And 8 days later, we had, hi Roger, because I had responded. My partner, Dan Kemlow, and I would like to attend your information meeting on January 29th, 2011. Talk to you soon, Lynn. And I thought it was interesting that she said 2011 because, in case we were confused of which year she was going to come over here. And we had already met Dan before we received our first email from him. And he said, Dear Roger, I'm interested in attending on March the 5th. Is there low-cost parking near the ferry terminal? And does a West Van bus stop near the ferry terminal? Dan Kemlow. And then it started. The earliest Belterrans, who were Marianne and Steve, Cindy, Jane, Diana, Lauren, Paul, and Stephanie and I attended our very first meeting with Dan and Lynn. It was just over 11 years ago. Yeah. After a couple of months, Dan and Lynn became equity members. Non-Belterrans, that means that they gave us their money, and there was no getting out. Or if they did, it was going to cost them a whole bunch of money. So looking through all those old messages, I love Gmail. Dan's emails contained lines like, count me in, when should I be there? And let's do it. We could also come earlier if that works better. Or count us in for dinner at Mixa, which is where we often used to meet after a Belterra day. It's now called Barcelona for people who are much later than Dan and Lynn were. So when I first clued in that Dan was a guy that we could count on to help get some of the stuff done that we needed doing, I was pretty relieved, and I thought, I've been waiting for this guy. So in the early days, before building construction began, Dan loved to come to Belterra and work hard. And he helped build the trail below Grafton Road, which is right over there, on the property that used to be Belterra's property. It's now a park. And along with other early Belterrans, he rescued sword ferns from all over the building site and moved trees to safe locations, where they promptly died, but what can you do? Not Dan's fault. He was a friendly face of Belterra at our Beaufest information tables every every August, and even at some of the presentations in Vancouver we did. Dan played a really, really big part, and Lynn, of course, a big part in getting Belterra off the ground. At that point, we only had about 30% of the members that we needed. Later, after we all moved here, Dan was one of the main members, people, players, doing the grunt work early in the Edible Garden days. He had no fear of hard work. If you needed a huge hole dug, you could just point to where you wanted it and say, Dan, dig a huge hole right there. And he would dig it. He was always the guy who was always asking, how can I help? And he was really generous with that help, very generous, until his health problems began to change the man that he was. To see Dan and Lynn together, other people have mentioned this too, always enjoying each other and everybody around them, dancing, singing, laughing, and dressing up and acting really silly, and their love and their comfort together was very tender, and it was inspirational. There's so many photos of them together, which people will have been able to see over on the kitchen island there. And they were always happy. They were always happy photos. But for me, one picture comes to mind, and there isn't a photo of it. And it's seeing them from the back, a tall, slim, semi-scruffy guy with his pretty and petite sweetheart walking hand in hand in front of the library. And I was just so taken with that scene, and I was just turning into the library parking lot, and it took me several seconds to realize that, hey, those are my neighbors. I just thought, what a cool looking couple. In the earliest days of Dan's disease, when we were working together on some project, he began to question what we were doing. He hadn't really lost his enthusiasm, because that never happened. He never lost his enthusiasm. He remained eager and willing to do his part, but the focus wasn't really there anymore. He took a great pride in a job well done, but he wasn't really sure at that point how to get there. And there's several examples around, but I'll just give one because it's right here. It's almost right here. It's right out there. At the end of that copper railing that comes down from building 1 to the common house, there's a couple of short curved pieces of copper pipe. Dan made those. And it was kind of a big deal. You know, he'd go back and forth. He would make them a little bit, and he'd come up and he'd put them in, and I'd say, no, that's not enough curve. And he would go back and he would make them some more. Then we had a machine that was just a beast that curved those 1.25" copper pipes. But when they were all done, we called them Dan's Bends. And he was very proud of them, and he should be. And they're going to be a part of Belterra for a very, very long time. During Dan's last months at Belterra, Bruce and George, and I'll tell you, and Dan and I would often go for walks on weekend mornings. Nancy mentioned that already, talking from Bruce. Anybody who doesn't know, people who are not from Belterra, George is just a huge, goofy, very easygoing golden retriever belonging to Steve and Marianne. And Dan loved his friend we called Georgie Porgy. Because George was always the same. It was just in-your-face enthusiasm all the time. Never ended. Didn't even matter. You could be exhausted, but it didn't matter. He was always enthusiastic, and that's it. And Dan knew what to expect from George. That's why he liked him. That's why when he was the happiest, when he was comfortable with the people and the dogs that were around him, and when the pathways were familiar. But over time, the pathways started to become unfamiliar. And as Dan's illness took hold, he found the most comfort being with those people that were closest to him and those who were most familiar and loving. In our own ways, we'll all miss Dan. And Belterra, the community of Belterra, which is what we are here, will miss him as well. But his contributions will remain, and making our life here just a little bit better for a long, long time. Dan and Lynn brought each other to our community, and Steph and I have been grateful ever since we received that first email back in 2011. Thanks.
Thank you, and I'll give you a picture of Dan before Belterra, because that's the Dan I knew, and I know. We all know he loved coffee. He was a voracious eater too, and he had a wicked, dangerous sense of humor, and I share that with him. There's so many things to say about Dan. I always look up to him. He was taller than me, probably taller than everybody, but really in many ways bigger, wiser, and he and Lynn help us raise our children. One thing I want to say about Dan is that, as Gabriel said, he only did whatever he wanted to do, and that he enjoyed to the fullest. And I remember how he was so excited and full of happiness when he studied, when he completed his master. He was so enthusiastic that he inspired me to study as well. He was enthusiastic and proud and cherished his children and his nieces, Louise, Gabrielle, and Annie and Marie-Eve. He was always proud of whatever they were doing. And I remember, there are many things I remember. I remember how much he enjoyed the pictures of Marie-Eve playing rugby. He will take me aside and said, "Look at this one." I think I said all I wanted to say. Lynn, I understand, Lynn, you wanted me to read something from Viktor Frankl that he also enjoyed very much, and actually gave me a book of him. So if the chain of command is all right, because you tell Maria, who's my wife, Maria told me, so if I'll read quickly this paragraph, because I think that if Lynn wants me to read it, because she sees something of Dan in here. And Frankl says, "The pessimist resembles a man who observes with fear and sadness that his wall calendar, from which he daily tears a sheet, grows thinner with each passing day. On the other hand, the person who attacks the problems of life actively is like a man who removes each successive leaf from his calendar and files it neatly and carefully away with its predecessors, after first having jotted down a few diary notes on the back. He can reflect with pride and joy on all the richness set down in these notes, on all the life he has already lived to the fullest. What will it matter to him if he notices that he's growing old? Has he any reason to envy the young people from whom he sees, or wax nostalgia over his own lost youth? What reasons has he to envy a young person? For the possibilities that the young person has, the future which is in store for him, no thank you, he will think. Instead of possibilities, I have realities in my past, not only the reality of work done and of love loved, but of sufferings bravely suffered. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this. I had a conversation with Dan, I think it was less than 2 years ago that this happened, but it made such an impression on me that we were recalling our youth, or at least when we were young men. And Dan said, maybe you can verify this. I don't think it was my imagination, but it made a great impression. Whatever was he said. He said, "Yeah, well, when I was a young man, I worked on a ranch in Alberta, and every weekend, or most weekends, I would just get on a horse and ride to the foothills and just camp overnight and come back, you know." So is that true? I mean, that's it's not my imagination. He said, yeah. And did he ride bareback there, or that doesn't count? I mean, that doesn't matter anyhow. But the main thing is, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyhow, it made a real impression. I said, "Wow, this is a real cowboy." I mean, in the best sense, you know. But no, truly, that image of Dan as a young man has stayed with me, and that's how I look at Dan, as this fearless kind of guy, lean, strong guy who embraced life and embraced the great outdoors and wasn't afraid at all. And and I think that's my image of Dan that I have. And he was in essence still that man who went on horseback and camped overnight and anyhow. So it's a wonderful image to have of him and an inspiring one. Thanks. Okay.
So Dan and I had many points of connection in the sense that we were both therapists. We had worked for the Ministry of Children and Family as family support workers at one point in our lives as well, and you know, so every time I saw Dan, we had lots to talk about. But a couple things, sure things that come up for me. One is I have a granddaughter, Della. Sorry. See, Della loved Dan. There was a subconscious connection that Della had with Dan, which I'll be honest, I don't understand. It was there, that was so strong, and every time Della would come from Winnipeg, she wanted to see Dan, and she'd be looking at our porch out for Dan, and Dan would be walking down, because Dan walked quite a bit in front of our place, and she'd be screaming, Dan, and Dan would come over very generously and say, Della, how are you? And Della would just love that so much, and when we go to Winnipeg, one of the first questions that Della always has is, how's Dad? And I got thinking, how is this connection? Like, what is this? It was so strong, and I realized maybe part of it is they're both old souls. You know, maybe they met somewhere or at some point, and that's a memory of Dan. Another memory is Dan was fascinated with Lynn. Like oftentimes when I talked to Dan, he would bring up a story about Lynn. Sometimes very humorous stories. And I remember we were like talking about bathtubs at Belterra, and Dan said, oh, we have to get a really shallow bathtub. He said, otherwise, Lynn's going to need scuba gear. At least I've been the other things too, but I'll leave it at that.
So, I met Lynn and Dan in the spring of 1982. I was a 15-year-old wayward, homeless, pregnant girl coming out of a group home, and going into their home the first day was odd and peculiar, so I agree with the person who said about the weird couple. They're still a weird couple. Dan was a force to be reckoned with. Oh my goodness. Lynn was the soft, squishy, lovey one, and Dan was the force to be reckoned with. So many years. How many years? So many years. They were there for my firstborn, who I found out years later were born on his birthday as well. Jennifer was born Friday the 13th, August. They were there for my second child. They were there for my third child. They were there for the christening, my marriage. They've been there a lot. And Dan, don't take this the wrong way, he was a fucking asshole most days. Total asshole. But he was an asshole in a way that made you want to do better. Then I don't know what, but you did better because Dan was watching and you just needed to do better. So I did better. I remember when I came home with a tattoo. That wasn't a better thing. That was a terrible thing. Remember when I got the tattoo? I still have it, Dan. Well, I got cursed out and cussed out on that one, but I grew from that and realized that I didn't need to express myself that way. They taught me how to express things better, and I learned from it. So his strategic bullyism went well in my one. We were both Leos, so we knocked heads all the time, until I moved out and I grew up and things changed. So they were there for my marriage, the christening, godparents to my children, and the hardest part, they were there big time when my son died, and Matt reminded me while we were sitting here the most memorable of our celebrations we do every year for my son on his birthday. The last year was most vividly because we did marijuana brownies, Pineapple Express brownies. And Dan had never had a Pineapple Express brownie before. Not that I know of anyway. So he helped himself, I think, 4 or 5 times. And Lynn was going, I don't know what I'm going to do with him tonight. I said, nothing, he'll sleep. He's going to sleep like a baby. So it was a wonderful night. We let off lanterns at the New West Quay. He was like a little boy. He loved it. I have it all on video. I'll send it to you. But it was a wonderful night. And
in his body.
yes, like 4 or 5 times. Can I have one more? Can I have one more? He was like a little kid in a candy store. It was wonderful. You still didn't tell me if he slept well that night, but I don't think you did. So, yeah, I come a long way with them, and to be here, I mean, it's never the end. It's always the beginning, right? Something new. But I felt I needed to say something because he made a profound change in my life. Being an asshole that he was great at it, and that's a perk. I don't mean it as an insult. It's a perk. He was really great at it. How beet red his face would get when he was mad at you. It was like, oh my God, are your ears burning? You could see the color. I missed that.
Never went late, though.
I was never late.
Never late.
Who would be? I just wanted to share that. I wanted to share that. Thank you for letting me in your lives. Thanks for taking me in, and my kids, and all the other crap that went along with it. It was a lot of crap, and you guys, man, you guys are a life jacket. You're still a life jacket for me. Thank you. I love you. I love you.
Thank you all for being here. I'm Mimi. Lynn. J'aime bien parler en français avec toi. I guess I would like to say what I wanted to finish with first, which is to say thank you to Dan. And that Dan is here with us, each of us, as we are here together. And I want to thank him for what we're doing today. My dad died during COVID, and I have yet to have a memorial with my family. He died alone of dementia very quickly, rapid decline, mental, cognitive, and physical. I was not able to be with my mother, and because of the quick lockdown, he did not know where we were, why we were not there to care for him. And then quickly thereafter, my mother got COVID, and I could not fly to be with her. So today, I thank you all for being here, and I thank Dan for connecting us in this way. It's okay, we can shake that off a little bit. And really, Roger, where are you? Roger, I love your email. That kind of unhinged me from my grief. I had to go over on the side and really allow the grief to come forward. But you're cataloging? I'm going to be careful what I put in my emails to you. Woo, okay. It's so honorable and wonderful to identify the grief and the mystery of quick dementia and the mind and how fast it goes. And to also identify loss and grief with a broad courage and facing it in each other's eyes. So today I thank Dan for what we're doing. And I thank each of you at Belterra for all the dancing. Thank you both for being here, you two. I know you both remember dancing at Taze's 80th birthday party. What a rager. That was our first party, I think, at Belterra, and it really helped me to see the ages, the span of joy and grief and trial and error and all those things we were going to do together. And boy, Dan could really kick up a rug. You two? My goodness. And the potlucks. And then, Gabrielle, you came. And I was so heartened to know, okay, the potlucks, let's have a little space, because like the Belterrans were all like, "Ooh, we're gonna grab you up," and we'd be doing dishes, and I'd be in there, and oh wait, a little bit of space. And we're all unique, and we're all so different, and I love that about what we're doing at Belterra. And Dan, wow, is he different? I used to kind of imagine he was on acid still, like. Maybe, I don't know if he did it, but it kind of seemed like the LSD realm a little bit. And that's fine because he unhinged me from the day-to-day and the regular that told me black is white or black is black and white is white and there's no middle ground. But he helped me to see the middle ground. And he was his playful spirit and his encouragement in the garden. And also, as Roger said, like somebody said, please dig a hole. Suddenly it was dug. And he always encouraging on his daily walks. He'd pass the garden as we were getting it going and cheer on each time. Thank you, thank you. So I just want to say again, thank you all for being here. And thank you to Dan and to Lynn for the beautiful legacy left. And I mention that about my dad because it's cathartic what we do and the feeling of the grief and going and sitting and letting the tears come again. I'm familiar with that, and I encourage all of us to do more body stuff together, more dancing, more yoga, more breathing, more grieving, more talking, more looking, more eating, more drinking, water if you'd like, and more growing of food. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
So I guess we're the nieces. A lot of you seem to have heard about us. I'm Mary-Eve. This is Annie.
Lynn and Dad gave us both a home, away from home, took us in their family, and if it wasn't for them, I don't know if either of us would have stayed in BC so long and made a life here. So I feel like Dan and I both had similarly strong personalities, and it wasn't always easy, but he was like a second dad to me, the kind of man you can always count on, even if you fight over the cereal or whatever. It didn't matter. I put my hand in the cereal box. Still learning that. You don't do that in Dan's house. But he was always there for me, helped me get a bike, helped me get settled, helped me get my life here, and I'll always be grateful. I just want to say thank you. You'll be missed.
Same for me. I moved into Lynn and Dan's house when I first came to BC. They always took me in, and I always speak of them as my second parents. So, yeah, thank you for everything, and we love you.
Thank you.
I gotta have a job.
Thanks everybody for sharing. So just two more things. If everybody can sign the guest book, which is on that table before you leave today. And the other thing is there's food, so help yourselves. So lots of dessert. But there's also some savory options which are based on things that Dad liked. So egg salad, tuna salad, and hummus.
And because that's what he liked.
That's what he liked. Yeah, so that's it. So bon appetit. Thank you.